this to get on my fucking channel?
It's because he feels like he's entitled to our time. He's entitled to our time. He's entitled to our space in our minds. All of ComicsGate feels like they're entitled to a lot of things that they're not.
Hello. Thanks, I'm good. Hello.
I don't know what there is to tell you about me that hasn't been posted in a thread on Kiwi Farms already, but my name is Ren. I'm a cosplayer, nerd, general internet goer. I have recently made some friends and some not so friends online as a frequent commentator on the ComicsGate. I don't throw the word debacle around very often, but I'd call it a debacle. I think that's fitting. Well, I mean, I guess it kind of depends on whether you're talking about ComicsGate as a group, as an organized group, or as kind of a mentality. But as a group, which I think is the one that people are most familiar with because they make themselves known in certain ways, but they're kind of a loosely organized band of individuals, mostly active on the internet, who have rallied around kind of a central core of disliking anything in the mainstream comic world that is not to their liking or to their expressed wishes, which usually, weirdly, ends up correlating with, racial or gender-based or sexuality-based things that they find aberrant or out of the norm.
Not even close. Although I concede her salient point that ComicsGate mostly does dislike things that, aren't to their liking. Alright, so half a dozen years ago, SJWs, or social justice warriors, began an exploitative invasion of various social interest groups and hobbies, invading the industries and companies that catered to those hobbies. These included Star Wars, video games, card games like Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons, and of course, tragically, comic books. Regressive third-wave feminists and their weirdo allies led the charge, seemingly friendly, offering camaraderie to the largely beta male and affection-starved infrastructure of the comics professional community, inviting them to make the industry more inclusive, promising that diversity would double comic sales. After all, surely women would read comics with the same intensity, the same frequency, and as often as men do, if only comics offered them proper representation. They immediately began to kill beloved, established, and commercial characters, usually white males, and replace them with shallow, charmless, two-dimensional, diverse stand-in characters, while strip-mining the entire industry with variant cover scams and #1 relaunches for short-term gains before the inevitable collapse. Complaints by fans and retailers were met with vicious abuse and accusations of bigotry, Nazism, and sexism. ComicsGate is the consumer uprising against this malicious and destructive assault on our beloved hobby and this art form. It consists of men, women, fans and professionals, people of color, and LGBTQ individuals. Anyone who places the love of comics over forced progressive ideology is welcome in ComicsGate. SJWs, like RENFAMOUS, actually blame this entire situation on comics retailers. Check this out.
I think there are problems with the way that comic stores are interacting with distributors, and there's a problem with the way they're interacting with their customers. I mean, comic shops aren't really, they're not being equipped with the resources they would need to better identify and know their markets, and to really be able to customize how they order and what they order. I mean, the incentive system with ordering comics is fucked. I think that there are, I don't think Diamond has an interest in helping these shops know their customer and order to what they believe their customers would want, and that is hurting them. It's hurting them. It's making it impossible to tell exactly what books are popular. I mean, it means that the numbers that everyone's working with to determine the health of the industry are almost useless. I think that there's a lot to be said for, you know, the shops that you see succeed are the ones who have learned to navigate that despite the detriments to them within that system, and the ones who have a really loyal and strong and varied fan base, so that, you know, the variety of books that they're ordering, you know, scattershot, are actually selling because their audience is so huge. But the smaller shops that have a very unique, singular audience aren't really identifying their audience well, and it's hurting them. So I think that there are issues. I don't think calling anyone a bitch on Twitter is helping those issues at all.
Well, you never know unless you try, right, Ren? So I appreciate your experimentation, but I don't think so either. I do find it interesting that leftist goofballs like RENFAMOUS are now blaming small businesses for their inability to navigate the predatory practices of huge companies like Marvel Comics. It seems like another comic shop closes its door each day, long-time, well-established retailers, and RENFAMOUS here has a lecture for them about better understanding their customer base? That's ironic, coming from a voice within the movement that convinced the comic book industry that there was another, less racist customer base just around the corner should they only disengage from their established and loyal one. It didn't work. But keep blaming retailers and covering for the big companies. I'm sure there's no bias there.
So they've kind of banded together as a group of people who, you know, without the ability to really affect change in any meaningful way, they've kind of resorted to abusing the shit out of anyone who makes a comic book that they don't like.
My personal experience, my witness as a professional, is that this is 180 degrees out of phase with reality. I saw the social media political grandstanding of my peers, and their hateful disenfranchisement of the customer base as every reason to align myself with ComicsGate. I put myself in the role of a fan, of a consumer of comics again, like I was in the 80s and 90s, and I began to see how damaging internet call-out culture was to this fragile industry. I'm not sure how fans are expected to put up with this abuse and still buy their abusers' comics. And sure enough, the abusers told them directly that they shouldn't. The abusers called fans bigots for not embracing some of the more egregious and less organic social justice reboots in comics, and told them to get the fuck out. GTFO. I'm not sure how comics are expected to survive and prosper under these circumstances. I'm not sure these people care. It seems to me, and to the countless others who have resigned themselves to using the ComicsGate hashtag, that the hobby has been overrun with political extremists and those who are afraid of or who wish to stay in the good graces of those political extremists. If the Vici SJW mainstream is the only game in town, everybody had better conform, right? But it isn't the only game in town. ComicsGate offers the chance for real, potential, meaningful change. And that's why they're afraid. That's why they lie. Hey, you want to follow me on Twitter? Are you sure? Well, if so, I'm at Ethan Van Sciver. That's at Ethan Van Sciver. See you there. Show your friends you support independent comics while showing the world who you back in the fight against the swarm with the brand new Cyberfrog t-shirt from Crypto Fashion and Comic Artist Pro Secret. Sizes come in small to 5XL, and take your choice of colors between navy blue, white, and black. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and order the Fandom Menace, Go Get Daddy's Belt, Tico, and Soilo t-shirts as well. Link is below in the description. You're gonna look great. People love these shirts. They fit wonderfully. Thank you very much. If you enjoyed this video and want to become part of this community, subscribe to this channel by clicking the Laughing Man face logo right on your screen. Ring the bell for notifications as well. You'll never miss a live chat. And stay tuned, another video by Comic Artist Pro Secrets is coming right up.